so with the business analytics journey, it may start that, let's say, the executive or the CEO in the company, they hire the business analytics team, and that could be you. And a lot of times what they will say is they may not have a defined problem, but maybe they'll say a few things. They'll say, I want you to investigate some issue, investigate sales. Or they may say something like, I want to, how can we improve costs, right? That might be another thing that they try to do, or discover new markets. And so a lot of times, because it's an undefined problem, it can be very challenging. It's like, well, where do you start, and how do I even get some result that the CEO will like? And this is why the really having a technique can be helpful, where you follow this technique. Is first you ingest the data from some source, and in some cases it could be easy because it's the customer data, right? Like, this could be sales data, but it also could be new data. It could be from Twitter, or it could be from Zillow, or it could be from some other data. And then you have the EDA phase, so exploratory data analysis, and you would plot things, or you would look at correlations, right? So you want to find out which things are related. And then what we're going to get into today is the modeling techniques, right? So can you find out new labels, or can you do a prediction using tools like automated machine learning tools? And then finally, you have to tell the story. And so a lot of times the CEO would be more interested in the story, because in the story, what you're going to do is you're going to give them some kind of conclusion and recommendation, right? So that's just this workflow is what I've seen in companies when I built like a data science team from zero and hired people one by one. Is that this is typically the process is the CEO knows, or the executive team knows, they need to add more analytics, and they don't really define the problem. So it's a little bit like what we have right now, where the problem is somewhat undefined, and then you have to use your creativity to use off-the-shelf tools and start to come up with enough information where you can tell a story and then give a recommendation. So let's now apply that a little bit with some of the stuff that we've done already. And so there's a notebook that Chelsea came up with that I thought was a good thing to start with. I think some of you have seen this one. I created a copy in my repo here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Colab, and I'm going to ingest it into Colab here. So I'm going to go to Colab, and one of the things I like about this Colab notebook project is that you can pull in repos and pull in notebooks very easily. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to say open notebook, and it's going to give me an option of where to select the location for the notebook, and I'll say GitHub, and then I can just look at the location of where I made a copy of her notebook. And I think it is called business what did she call that notebook? It is called Hemming Business Analytics 01. Let's see here, including, actually maybe, yeah, it should be Business Analytics 018, Business Analytics. There we go. There we go. So I can just select this one. and what I would typically start to do in a project like this is add some cells here. So I would go through and make this a notebook that says exploration or data science and business analytics exploration, and put this into some brackets here. And then I like to nest things down as well, so I can kind of hide things like this. So here we go. We've got this, and then from here, this is the section where she goes through and grabs some initial imports, installs all that inside of the notebook, and then goes through and does some, scrapes some information using a web scraper. And then once she goes through here and puts these into a notebook, the next step here would be to really turn all this into maybe like another section. So I would probably say in this part we could say under here, put another text cell and just say ingestion like this, and maybe I'll make that a single one here, and then this notebook we can call this, and just change that up. So the general idea here is that you're making these sections, and you're dividing things up into different pieces. And again, I'll maybe make this one a little bit bigger, and then make this one a little bit smaller, and say loading data. And then once I've got this, once I've got these sections, then I would create a new section down here that would be, where I would try different techniques. So this would be, potentially the modeling section here, and then I could put in the conclusion, and then this is where what we would be building to, which would be the story. Is I want to tell a story to the CEO, right? So this is basically the journey here. Is you're going through here, and you're building out these sections, and you're trying things out, and you're kind of cleaning things up, and then eventually, mostly what you'll tell the story to is the CEO. So we're gonna get into this modeling phase right here, and that's what our assignment will be today. And so how would I come up with modeling using off-the-shelf tools? So there's a few different off-the-shelf tools I think that are interesting, that can help us immediately get results with very little work. And with text processing, let's actually draw some of these tools out and talk about what some of these tools are. So in addition to the open source ones like Ludwig and H2O and things like that, there also are AI APIs, and there's also fully automated ML. And with AI APIs, a good example of this would be that AWS has something called Comprehend. And what you can do is you can put in raw text and then have it do automated extraction. And it can come up with insights. So that's one. There also is another business analytics tool called QuickSight, which also can go through and build out insights automatically without writing any code. And then in terms of fully automated, there is AWS has something called machine learning, which is a AWS has a machine learning project called machine learning that is full automation for prediction. And then there's also Google has Automl Tables. From Google, and then Azure has Automl as well, and so I'm gonna show you all of these and show how you can use these potentially on your project. So we'll go over. Let's start with Comprehend, which I think is the most relevant initially here. So I'm gonna go to AWS console here, and as a student, you can get free accounts for all of these cloud vendors. So there's AWS, Google, Azure. Just type in AWS free account or Google free account or Azure free account, and you can get a free account. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go into the console here, and I'm going to type in Comprehend. And what's great about AWS Comprehend is if you were kind of annoyed with all the code and extracting things and doing it the hard way, you also can, and let's just take one of these books, we can just cut and paste this and get results. So let's go through here. Let's grab this book, and look, we have a bunch of text in here. Great. So what I can do is I can just take maybe this part of the chapter, and I'm going to go to Comprehend here, launch it. And you can see what this does is it indexes and analyzes unstructured text using this console. And so I can either do built-in or custom. In this point, I'm going to just paste some text in here. I'm just going to paste this in. This is from the book, the Hemingway book. I'm going to click on Analyze, and notice that I didn't write any code at all, and I was able to get the person extractions, the location extractions, all kinds of other things extracted here, and look, I have confidence, right? I have a confidence level, and I can, if I want to, as well, I could call this via API. That's very easily to do in just a line of code and get all of that. And the other thing is, this is just entities. I could also grab key phrases here. So I could also extract these out. I could go and detect which language it is. I could look at the sentiment as well. You can see that this is positive sentiment. And I could even grab the syntax. So oftentimes this could be for an initial way of analyzing the data, potentially a much simpler way to kind of get and extract text and do things with them. And if you want to use this on a project, again, what's neat about it is maybe these key phrases could be something that later you turn into a visualization. In addition to AWS Comprehend, for just text, they also have something for medical as well. And so the way this would work is that this is a medical chart, and let's say that your company wanted to look at some medical records to see if they could sell additional or make a new product, right? You could throw in a bunch of medical records you found, and then go through and figure out really observations and interactions between different medical records. So what's great about this is that, again, no code, and I'm able to start getting results here. So this is their text analysis tool, and if you wanted to write a little bit of the code yourself and pre-process it, let me show you how you would do that. So the way you would do that would be to go to something called AWS Cloud9. And what Cloud9 does is allows you to write code right inside of AWS. So if we go to, not this one, go to Cloud9. And we can just create a new environment, and I could just call this Business Analytics. And I can just leave everything default. This is all free, and by the way, this is free as well. If you're on the free tier, it costs nothing. So we'll go ahead and say next, create this. And then what I'll show you really quickly is that it's very simple. Even if you don't want to write much code, you can write just a little bit, and you can get this out. So I think that's what's important a lot of times with business analytics is how small of a piece of code can you write so that you don't have to do a lot of work. And that's a big plus for me, is I generally don't want to write a lot of code. I want to try to get results very, very quickly without needing to write like lines and lines and lines and lines of code. So this will take just a second here. Okay, so we're connected. And what I typically do when I have a project like this is I like to create a Git repo and connect it. So I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna create a new one, and I'm gonna call this low code business analytics. And I'll add a README and a git ignore file. And for git ignore, I'll use one for Python, just like this. There we go. And here is the repo, and I'll just make some simple tools here that we can use. Just throw this in there. Okay, so now that I've got this repo, I'll click this icon here to clone it. So go back into this business analytics project and just say git clone. Now this won't work, right? Because I have to create SSH keys. The first time I use a new environment, I have to create SSH keys. So I'll let me just move this a little bit up here. There we go. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll type in SSH keygen -t RSA, make those keys, and then print this out. Here we go, print this out. And then I can throw this into GitHub, and this allows me to then save it. So we'll go there to settings and go SSH and GPG keys. Paste this in. New, we'll just call it business analytics environment. I'll save it. Okay, so now that I've got that, I will go back up arrow again, that I can clone it. Okay, so I have access to this. So how do I just really quickly build something useful? Well, the first thing I would do is cd into this directory, and then I would type in, create a virtual environment. So from here, I would say Python 3-m venv, and that's the virtual environment module. And all this does is make it so that I can install packages without causing a lot of issues. And so I'll go through here and call this VE or tilde slash dot venv, right? So I'll put this in a hidden directory, and then I'll source it. Okay, source it, and then just again, because I'm going for speed here, I'll activate it, and then I'll type in pip install Boto3. So that's the library that you use to talk to AWS. And fortunately, it's pretty easy to build out a comprehend based script. So I'll just say here and just say like analyze Hemingway like this, and I'll just make a really simple script. Double click on it. And then I think it should be just import Boto3. And then we can say client is equal to Boto3 dot client. And then I think you just put in the library that, or the part of comprehend. The part of AWS that you're talking to, and I can just look real quick. I can just go to Boto3, their documentation, and just find which service I want to talk to. And I think in this one we want to talk to comprehend. So I can just find that. There we go, comprehend. And then, yeah, it's just this line. So I can paste that in. That, I think I did it right? Yeah, it looks right. And then we want to do maybe like key phrases. That looks good. And so it looks like it just needs batch detect key phrases. I think that's it. That's all I have to do is something like this. So I'll just throw this inside of here. Batch detect key phrases. And then language, we'll just say English. That looks good. So all I have to do is just put some text in there. So for this, I'll just make this a variable. That looks pretty good. And this just says that, yeah, I haven't defined that variable. So I'll make the text up here. So I'll just say text, and I'll do triple quotes so I can just paste things in. Here we go. And now I had some phrase here. Let's just grab this. Let's just grab this out of here. Go back to this and throw it in. Sure, that looks good enough. Although it's irritating that it's not wrapped, but let's run this. Python analyze Hemingway. That looks like it was successful. And then I can just say print response. There we go. That looks good. There we go. So we were able to get a bunch of key phrases extracted automatically, right? And so I could then later, maybe make it so that I could turn this into a command line tool that I could put whatever phrases I wanted to into this, and it could build out a more sophisticated command line tool. But in general, that's it. That's like a 10-line piece of code. So what I'll do next here is just check this in. So we got one tool already created that I could start doing things with and adding to a report. So I'll say get status. Adding a API tool. So hopefully our CEO will be happy. We're able to extract key phrases from documents with very little code. We can either do it manually, or we can add just a little bit of code and I'll just put in my name here so that I can keep track of my commits, and then also check in my email address so that it knows who it is that checked it in, and then I'll reset this get message. There we go. We'll save this, write it out, exit, and then do a git push. Okay, so we got this working, and in this repo inside of GitHub here, we should be able to see very easily that we've got some low-code business analytics. There we go. We got a script here that is able to, we can build stuff off it. Okay, so we got one tool built. Well, what else can we do that's very easy, low code, no code? The other thing that we can look into is we can grab something called QuickSight. So let's go into QuickSight, and what this is: fast, easy to use business analytics. This looks useful. So how does this thing work? Well, what's neat about this is that it's kind of similar to what we were just doing. Is you can easily go through here and just connect to something, and then it will just build out dashboards and visualizations. And a good example of this is that I can just upload a CSV file, and this is actually one that I did recently, where I was able to grab some data about sugar consumption in the United States and then create a dashboard, right? And this shows what the education level is, and for people that have lower than high school education level in the United States, their sugar consumption is higher. But then for college graduates, their sugar consumption is lower. So you can see that, and we know that the sugar consumption is related to morbidity. Also, it's comorbidity for COVID, right? So because it causes obesity, and we can see that there's certain states that are more susceptible to high sugar consumption, and it's related to education. And you can even toggle and look at employed level. And we also see that if you are not employed, you also typically have a high level of sugar consumption. So how did we build one of these tools here? Let me show you how we could do this. So the way you do this is, I could go back again to the beginning here and just say I want to do a new analysis, and then I can say I want to do a new data set. And the data set could be anything. It could be a file I upload. I also could just grab one of these places, Twitter, GitHub. I could use existing data sources. What I'm going to do is I'm going to upload a file here. So I need to get a file from somewhere. And to start with, why don't I go to this location where I had this sugar consumption data. Here we go. Here's the sugar consumption data, and I think I have it checked into here somewhere. Sugar consumption. Let's look at this. Here we go. Here's the sugar data right here. I'll just throw this into a URL, download it. So I'll just say file, save page. I'll put this onto my desktop, and then now I'll go back to here and then upload it. So we'll say, there we go, education sugar. It's loading a preview, and you can see that it's able to extract things, pretty well. And then if I wanted to, I could even tweak it a little bit and change things around and, change what the kind of variables are. Again, no code. I don't have to do anything. But that looks pretty good. Let's save it and visualize it. And then again, I can just choose which kind of fields I want to plot. If I just say I want to look at people that didn't go to high school and are unemployed, and I want to look at some kind of automatic visualization, it can go through here and start to build out, visualizations based on those fields that I've selected. So that's one of the key takeaways is these business analytics tools can be very drag and drop. Now the other one that relates more to some of the text analysis is that if we did a new analysis, one thing we can do as well is connect it to Twitter, for example. So if I say here, say new, and I say Twitter, for example, I could click on a data source and it could extract it from Twitter. I think I already have this set up though, so I can say, here we go, NBA, and we can say create data set, and we'll go ahead and select this, and then I can import this and I can visualize it. And this was a query of, I believe, the NBA in Twitter. And it'll take just a second here, and I believe that we can just see the friend counts, the text. Let's see if this is already created here. Maybe I can go to, I don't know how long it'll take to download this, so I can look at one that I've done previously. So if I'm just going to look at one that I've done previously, which was a Twitter analysis a year ago. Let's look at this one. So you can see that this was, I was able to sum, retweet counts. I can look at the text, right? Of here are the different players that had hashtags inside of their tweets, and then start to build out solutions, or even build out a story, that goes through and shares some kind of information inside of here. And I could even run different filters and look at parameters. And so in a nutshell, without spending too much time kind of toggling all these different things, you can easily build out these dashboards and then share those dashboards. If I click on this, publish a dashboard with somebody else in your company, we'll say NBA story, and then give that to somebody else. So that's tool, and I could email them this exact thing. So that's tool number 2. So we got comprehend, tool number 1. We have this AWS QuickSight, which again connects to a bunch of data sources. There's another tool on AWS that I'll show you that you can use that's really easy to get started with, called AWS Machine Learning. And AWS Machine Learning is able to, not this one, it is machine learning. This is something that I think they're changing into SageMaker, but because I've used it a few times, I'll show you the way this works. Is I think it has a location that I'm going to grab that has a file that has some information inside of it, some banking data. So if I wanted to analyze some records and do some kind of a prediction, I could without writing any code, I could say create new data source and model, and then it would ask me where does this data live, and I could say, okay, S3, great. I'll paste this location inside of there, and then I'll call this banking data. Go ahead and verify this, and then what it'll do is it will give me this schema report that automatically will allow me to pick the predictions. So this is a very similar, again, to like Ludwig or H2O, except for I don't have to write any code. And notice here that it detects the data type automatically. It detects the sample fields here. And then to do the prediction, what I would do is I would just say continue. And it says, because you've picked the combined create ML model and data source wizard, you must pick a target. So I would toggle through here to the end and pick this target, which is a binary target. And so this means that they gave them a credit card offer, and whether the customer had either accepted it or declined it. If it's a Y, it means they've accepted. And if I say continue, it'll ask me for confirmation. Once I go through here, it'll give me a recommended machine learning model. So set aside the data, split it. I can go through here and say review. And then once I go through here and I say review, I'm able to create a model and it starts training it automatically. So this takes about 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm just going to go right to the end here. Is if I go back to this dashboard here, you can see it's training, but I've done this previously. And what it will show you is a full report here that gives you the accuracy and then lets you do your look at the trade-offs of your prediction. And so in this case, you can see that it shows you that this model is 91% correct, and it shows you how many true positives, true negatives, and then which are the false positives and false negatives. And if you wanted to, you can even change the level and then save it and then serve that prediction out. And in fact, you even can go through here when you're done and just start putting the values in and start building the predictions. So this is a third tool that you could use, again, with no code, low code, that could be very helpful in terms of building out business analytics solutions. So let's move here to one last tool on AWS that might be interesting to know about, which is called recognition. And what recognition can do is it can actually allow you to detect labels automatically. So let's say, again, I was working on this Hemingway project, and I wanted to not write much code or write almost nothing. How could I use this tool? Well, one of the ways that I could use this tool would be to upload images around Hemingway. So let's find a Hemingway image, Hemingway picture. So let's find him. There we go. He has a cat here. Let's save that image to the desktop, and we'll call this Hemingway cat. There we go. And then we will go to this recognition, and I'll throw it inside. And then we're able to identify this, and it says as a person, human, sitting. It shows all the different things. Senior citizen, right? Because he has all the gray hair, and it finds all the different things inside of here. So maybe what I would do as well is I could just look at the response here, this whole payload, and I could even just grab it, right? And I could just take this, and then I could throw this into that low code repo here, and just add this as a JSON file, right? So if I went through here, go back to this, and say add a file, create new file, and we'll just call Hemingway image.json, and then just throw that in there. There we go. and I could just there we go. I've already grabbed some information that I can use for later for some kind of I could pull this into Python very easily, right? It's just one line of code to extract that into Python, and then maybe I could do some kind of a cluster or plot with that. So those are, again, some of the high level tools that you can use really quickly with almost no coding. So let's look at a couple other platforms as well. Let me also show you Microsoft Azure. So Microsoft Azure is pretty cool because what it does is it allows you to use this automated machine learning platform here to come up with analytics and conclusions with basically no code. And one of the ways you can do that is with this automated ML solution here, or with a designer. So if I go and I click on this designer, one of the things that it does is it has some default projects in here. Here, this one is a automobile price prediction. This is a restaurant recommendation. Let's go ahead and pick this one, this automated classification problem. So I would have to select a target, maybe would be this one. And then once I do this, you can see it has a whole series of different steps that are all built in for me, where it grabs the data, selects the columns, cleans the missing data, splits the data, goes through, does linear regression, scores the model, and evaluates the model at the very end. And you can see, what the output is. And I believe I did a run recently here that you can see the result of it. And what it can do, even at the very end here, is here's my recommendation that was generated, and I even can turn this into a web service automatically. I also could go through here and see all the different text extraction. And again, if I wanted to add new things inside of here, it would just be a matter of making a new model, selecting my compute targets here, selecting some kind of a data set. So here's some different data sets or some samples like income or flights or movie titles, and grabbing and putting those in here. And then I can start to drag different modules inside, right? So text analysis, in-gram extraction, right? So these are all things that I would go through and start to pull from from this as I'm building it. So this is another thing that's starting to be a trend, and this, you can see this is a preview tool, so it's just beginning to be created. And so what it's similar to is another thing that they have on Azure here, which is, let me go to the home real quick, is under the notebooks. They also have a lot of AutoML notebooks as well. So if I go here and I say Python and I scroll automatic machine learning, we could look at that same problem that we were just doing right here, which was the bank marketing, or I could look at text classification. Here's another one. And if I look at this project, I can clone it and I can just start working on it. Let's see here real quick. There we go. And what this does is it uses AutoML to analyze some notebooks. It creates a workspace, does all this, sets up a compute cluster, grabs the data. These are news group data, and then we can fetch this data, load it, prepare an AutoML run, submit it, and then retrieve the best model, and then finally evaluate this model, and then display the test results. So there's kind of a combination of either just drag things into different sections of a GUI, or do it automatically by spinning up your own notebook. And then finally, when you're done here, what'll happen is you'll see these experiments. They'll all be here. Is that you can visualize the different results and go through and see what the accuracy was of some kind of an experiment that you ran. Also, in this particular one, I think is one that I did recently, that you could go through and also look at all the descriptive statistics. So if I go to, let's see here, data sets, and let's look at this, not data sets, under, data sets here, this data sets. This is a San Francisco data. And if I look at Explore, it has the same things as that AWS ML model, is that it can basically show me descriptive statistics about the data and let me analyze it. So this is a second cloud platform where you can see it's also low code, no code. Let's look at a third cloud platform now, which is GCP. And what's interesting about GCP is that they have something called Automl Tables. And what Automl Tables does is it allows you to look at tabular data with, let's see, I think I have to look at it. Their interface is bad, Automl Tables. I have to find it like this. Here we go. Go to console. And so the way this works is kind of similar. I could just say new data set, call this something BA, Business Analytics, and import the data from either Bigquery, which I'll show you in a second, CSV, or upload files from a computer. So if I just selected some file on my computer, this sugar data, for example, I could go through, tell it where I wanted to put it, some location on the cloud, and import it, and then it would start to import this data. Now, once it's already been imported, what it will look like is like this, for example. And what's nice about this is it shows me everything about the data. So it shows me the type of data, if there's missing values, here we go, how many distinct values are located, and then as well it even has correlations with target. So this shows me like essentially like a heat map already built into this, and then I again would select the target column. In this case, we're trying to predict whether the flights are canceled, and then if I go to model, it will show me the prediction accuracy. So in this particular model, there was 60% accuracy in training it. And then if I want to use it, I can go through here and evaluate and use it. So that's really the high level idea here, is that with business analytics, a lot of times you can, even though we're doing some of this stuff manually ourselves, you could take the same Hemingway project and just start to really quickly build solutions and use these automated tools. Another example I'll show you on the Google Cloud Platform is Bigquery, and you can use this public data that they have, is an example where you could look at public data, query the table like this. So select star, run this query, and then basically save out the results or explore the data in this data studio. And with this data studio application, it's very similar again, just like these other BI tools, is I could pick the kind of charts that I want to run, and I could then do something with that data and potentially share it, right? So this looks good. We'll save this. Once I've saved it, I can share this out with other people. So you could upload your data into Bigquery, do your queries on it, and even do machine learning inside of here, which we'll get into in a second. So that's really the maybe let me just summarize that real quick. Is that the main takeaway with business analytics is you can with business analytics tools, maybe a core question is speed, right? Is like how quick can you build out a solution using these high level tools, and then all cloud platforms have these tools, and as students or anybody, they have these low code, no code tools, and they're also free tier, right? So you could easily build out clustered solutions or analysis by just throwing things inside. So that might be something to consider for the assignment today, is what can you do that uses low code, no code tools to just quickly come up with conclusions to put into your report. And then if you want to, let's just take this as an example. Let me show you how we could combine all those things together. So if we went to this chart here, for example, you could either just directly share this, or look, if you look at this, I can do this. I can say Shift Command 4 on a Mac and just copy this chart like this. Just do a screenshot, and then I can take this chart, go back to my repo here, and say New Issue, and say Images, and just drag this in. We can just go like this, and I could even do this. I could drag a couple images, and in this way, it will store the image for me. And now I can go to a Colab notebook, and I'll make a new one, and I could just make my new analysis real quick. So I could say business analytics, and then I could have my sections here, which again would be ingest, and then I could have modeling or EDA, and then maybe have conclusion, and then for this, maybe this is under this section. Is I click on this icon for the image here. I'm sorry, I just pasted in. I'm sorry, and look, now I've got my chart. So I didn't even have to write any code, and I could put this chart inside of this notebook, and we can just say these are like ideas, business analytics ideas, just like this. I could collapse it to make it smaller. Now if I want to check this in, I can save a copy in GitHub, and we'll go to, what did I call this repo again? I called it low code. So we'll say low code. Low code business analytics. There we go. So now that's in there. And I also could even go back to my so I've got that piece of code. Maybe I have another section ingestion. Remember we had some stuff for AWS Comprehend, right? I could even grab even from the output of this. I could throw some stuff in here. I could just get this. Actually, you know what I could do? I want to be very, very lazy. Is I'm going to go to Comprehend again, and maybe I do a similar analysis. Is that I launch this? I again paste some text in here, which we get from this book. Here we go. We grab all this. Business analytics. Where's Comprehend? Here we go. Analyze it. And maybe I just want to look at the key phrases. Come up with this. And with key phrases, I will just maybe even just take a picture of this. Right, I could either take a picture of this, or I could just throw this into my notebook. Either way doesn't matter. But let's take a picture. Let's go through here. Let's take this picture like this, and then again I can go back to my images, make a new image, and throw this in. There we go. Comment this, go back to this project, and then maybe I have a section here that says, text explorations, and go through here and paste this in. Right. So maybe maybe this is just again just some ideas that I'm trying to build, and then I can also save a copy in GitHub here. So there's a lot of, I guess the main takeaway when you're going through and you're looking at things in terms of business analytics, you can build things very, very quickly without writing almost any code at all, and that should be an option for business analytics. So for the next maybe 10 minutes or so, let me tell you about another repo that will show some code now. So let me show you how you can think about clustering, which we got into a little bit last week, but I'm going to click on this notebook here and just show you some of the highlights here of the intuition behind clustering and why people use it for analysis and how you could use it on your projects. So that the key idea here is that you're going to use distance to find out which things are similar, because you're going to pick columns. And so this is like a natural grouping in the data. So it's a form of unsupervised learning, and often the correct groupings are unknown. But the samples within a group should be more similar with samples of different groups. That's really the core idea. And so, what are the ways that you can look at this? You could just see it's really like in Euclidean space. So, in multiple dimensions, which things are closest to each other. And you saw this last time we covered this, that I could look at the attendance, how good a team is, the valuation, and I could cluster and see which things are close to each other. And so this is a very helpful thing to do in business analytics, is of the different attributes that I picked, which ones are similar, and can I discover can I discover things? And if you want to look at this, this is a way to write your own Euclidean distance code. But in general here, with k-means clustering, this is one of the most common ways to do clustering. And as we talked about last week, there's different ways that you can analyze the cluster assignments. And I'll just kind of scroll through this. One of the problems that comes up with the real world k-means clustering, though, is that it is limited by the size of the data, and disk I/O can be a factor. So if you want to take a look at some of that, there's some examples here where you can go into this. But the main intuition, especially from looking at this from a business analytics perspective, is that in pseudocode, it is like this: is that you have you initialize these centroids, you keep running the k-means algorithm to find all the centroids, and then finally this gives you the labels that you create. And so this particular example here is actually, let's see here. Yeah, this is writing the k-means clustering code from scratch. So that's one thing that can be confusing about using something like k-means clustering is like, well, what is it doing? What is it magic? So you can write from scratch a k-means clustering algorithm, which is this right here, by using some libraries inside of the Python standard library, like square root and mean. And it's really just a few functions. First, you have a function that lets you transpose data. You have a multi-dimensional Euclidean distance. So this just says, if I have lots of values in multi-dimensional space, how are they close to each other? I then assign the data to the closest centroid, which is this line of code here. I compute the centroid, and then that's it. That's basically my k-means clustering. So if we run this here, and then I go through and I do k-means clustering, I can pick the sample data, and then this shows you that I can actually go through here and get my clusters. Here we go. Here's my cluster assignment, and then this shows you which cluster. Now, if I want to use the built-in library k-means clustering, which again we used last week, you can see it actually gets the exact same results, right? So here's the exact same thing. So really, it's not magic. It's just finding which things are similar with each other, and then this is like a sample. So in a nutshell, when you're working with k-means clustering, that's really all that's happening. Is you're taking a bunch of things that are business values, and let's maybe just draw this up here and talk about this and how you could use this on your projects. So when someone says, hey, I want you to use machine learning to find out business insights, let's just highlight what are the key attributes here. So the key takeaways are that you have to find the business columns, right? So what would be it really depends. In the Hemingway data set, it could be maybe like word count, like frequently used words. Maybe that's something you could do. You could find maybe the total words, right? So like maybe that's one of the columns that you use. So let's say you're building out an analysis of the Hemingway project, and one of the columns is the total number of words used. So you could use that, and let's say one book has 7,500 and another book has 8,000, and then another one has 10,000, and then another one could be potentially you could use the primary location, right? And maybe the primary location could be Europe, and then another one could be North America, and then maybe this one is also Europe, right? So that's just that right here with these two columns. You could actually go through and you could do k-means clustering, right? And I showed you the example that you could all it's going to do is it's going to when you plot this out on a graph, is it's going to find out which things are close to each other like this, and then it's going to group those for you. And this is a label. And so what this could be is something you as the business analytics professional would say, this would be early and this would be late career. And I'm just making this up. But let's say that if you were able to kind of structure the data into these columns here, like total words, the primary location, but it could be anything else as well. Maybe you find something else. Maybe you find people who wrote about what Hemingway wrote. Maybe that's another one, like the frequency that people liked it, or it's really, there's an unlimited amount of columns that you can find. Is that when you apply k-means clustering, when you group things together in multidimensional space, it allows you to discover these labels, right? And that's really all k-means clustering is it's about discovery, is that you discover these emergent labels. And so if we go back again to this this project that I was just working on, which is, where's this notebook? Is it? Yeah, this one. When I go through here and I create something like this, again, this is what we were talking about before. I have 4 different columns: assists, block, rebounds, and points. And I discovered these different labels. I discovered that these are the best players in the NBA. I discovered that these are tall players, and I created a natural grouping. And that's really that's one of the nice things about k-means clustering is that you can basically discover some new insight and then put that into your report. And then I would go back to my report, and you could even do this, right? You could again use some other tool or even an off-the-shelf tool, and I could go through here and I could throw this in here, make my plot, and then go back to my business analytics project because I have the images here, throw this in and build it out. So you could do it by hand, or you could do it in the notebook. Doesn't really matter how you do it. But if I go back to here, maybe I have a new section called the modeling / discovery here, and paste that in. There we go. And yet again, I can go through here and just say file, save a copy in GitHub, and then check this into my low code, no code repo.